Good Wednesday morning to you. I've been thinking a lot about distance learning. I know a lot of people are asking me, how are your kids doing? And I think that's a question we ask a lot of people. How are the kids doing with not being in school, and how are they handling the education component of not being with their teachers? In our house, there's been some struggles and there's been some blessings. One of my children even mentioned that they thought that there's been a lot more fun in distance learning because they can choose to do some things and not have to waste their time with other things. I'm not going to tell you which child said that. I think there's a challenge for distance learning because we can't rely on people to be right next to us, helping us to focus on one specific thing. The danger is that there's all sorts of distractions that can turn us in any given direction. Another challenge of distance learning is we might draw this wrong conclusion to a problem or a situation. Of course, this is what our youth are dealing with as they try to navigate this time. So for you today, regardless of your age, I wonder, how is your distance learning? Because the reality is we can't gather together for worship either. And we don't have anyone who is directing us to look at a specific text a certain way or read the scriptures a certain way. We do a pretty good job with our online worship services, and we try to gather together in a virtual community. But the reality is we are all engaged in one level or another at distance learning. We should be distance learning in our faith. Now, in my house, we can celebrate every day both the struggles and the blessings. And I am intentional in saying that we celebrate the struggles and we celebrate the blessings. It helps us to grow when we name the struggles, when we identify the problems that exist, when we troubleshoot what is working and what isn't working and what could be more effective or efficient. It's great to celebrate those moments when our family feels like they've accomplished something great, when my students as individuals feel like they've met a goal or achieved something they didn't think they could do. Distance learning has been an incredible blessing in our house overall for the sake of just being more attentive to one another in our needs for what helps us develop. The same is true for our faith. And as I've been in my devotional time, spending time in the book of Galatians, I think Paul is a great distance learning instructor. Think about that. His entire ministry is distance learning. He has established churches throughout all of Asia Minor and the provinces, and he's created this opportunity for people to know and worship the living Lord. But he isn't always with them. In fact, if you look at chapter 4, verses 8 through 20, he's actually quite concerned for this church in Galatia. He's worried that when he's not with them, they might lose their way. They might forget all that he has taught them. I want to specifically highlight to you for verse 9. It says, "But now that you know God, or rather are known by God, how is it that you are turning back to those weak and miserable forces? Do you wish to be enslaved by them all over again?" It's kind of funny. Paul is a great pastor, but he is not a warm and fuzzy leader. He hits you hard with what you need to think about in this moment. And maybe those words are as true for us today as they were for the Galatians. Maybe we really need to be scrutinizing what are the things that we're holding on to and what are the things that we're reverting back to. I know in our house, as we think about education, we're talking about building good disciplines. It would be easy for us to revert to a status of not having ritual or not having a routine into the day. There is definitely a temptation to want to sleep all morning long and stay up late into the night. But we know that that's not a healthy practice for us, and it won't create an environment that's conducive to learning. That's why our schools don't do it. So the same is true for faith. What are we doing that is actually helping us to continue to move forward? It's taking all of the wisdom of what we've known, but energizing us and engaging us for all that is to come. Just like in our homeschooling situation, there are struggles and there are blessings. So what are your struggles in your faith life today? What are the things that are just truly making it difficult for you to stay focused on what God is doing? And where are the blessings? Where are you seeing God at work, opening your eyes, creating new opportunities and new excitement for all that is to come? I think the most important thing in our environment here at our house is to have both support and accountability. And I feel like that's Paul's words for us today as well. In this passage, if you read it in your Bibles, you'll notice that there's some hard-hitting language. Paul loves these people, but he also wants to love them in truth. He wants to hold them accountable in a way that will help them to continue to navigate faith and grow both in relationship with God and with one another. He knows that Christ has formed him, and that is the message he has delivered to this church, that they too might be formed by Christ. And so how is Christ forming you? I know yesterday I was reading a letter from our bishop, and whether or not you appreciate the hierarchy of the church, the bishop just fundamentally is the pastor's pastor. And my pastor had a good word yesterday. I want to read you something he wrote. Bishop Selwell wrote, "How will we ever know what the Spirit wants if we are not listening? And how can we truly be listening if we aren't making time? And how will we ever make time if we are not praying? If we are keeping on thinking we need to stay so fast-paced and busy, as if it all depends on us?" Part of this quarantine time is that life has taken a rather large pause. Things have slowed down. And it's frustrating and it's difficult and it's sometimes hard to navigate. But man, isn't it awesome? Really, isn't it great to not have to fill your day with so many activities? To truly have the time to celebrate the simplest ways we see God at work. In my house, sometimes that's the accomplishment of a math problem one of my students thought they'd never achieve. What's it like in your house? I can tell you, for me, prayer life has taken on a whole new meaning. It's like breathing. It's something that has become so organic into my day that I don't even realize the moments when I am praying or not praying. I think about these words from Galatians. God knows me. Not only do I know God, but God knows me. It reminds me of the words from the psalmist, who writes in Psalm 139, "You have knit me together in my mother's womb. You know the number of hairs on my head, the words on my lips before they are spoken. You have called me by name." God claims us as his own. And not just me, but each of you as well. So how's your distance learning going? As you think about this time, whether you are by yourself or with a spouse or with a whole household full of people, how is your learning? Who's helping you to give you support and hold you accountable? Who's sharing with you and identifying both the struggles and the blessings? You don't need to have people at your table to do that. We are a community. We are a community that is gathered together no matter how much distance surrounds us. The same was true for Paul and the people of Galatia, as it is for you and me. So as we continue on this journey, let us learn deeply. Let us grow intently. Let us be excited for all the ways God is at work. Not only that we might know him, but we would be reminded that God knows us. Enjoy your Wednesday.